everybody. Welcome to LifeProof Relationships, a podcast brought to you by journeyOn Coaching. I'm Kylie.
And I'm Christy, and we are a mother-daughter power team. We're both certified life coaches, and we've made coaching not just our careers, but it's really, truly our way of life. We have a lot of sessions and hours of direct coaching experience between the two of us, and we have a lot to share with you today. So our clients come to us with all sorts of challenges and desires for change, but without fail, we ultimately arrive at the core of everything, which is cultivating relationships.
So if you're interested in exploring ways to transform your relationships to be more loving, nourishing, and dynamic, please join us. Whether we're talking about partners, family, friends, or coworkers, we'll always ground back into the foundation of them all, your relationship with yourself.
So in this episode, we are elaborating on the fourth pillar of a life-proof relationship, which is Nourish. This is going to be a fun one. This is one of our 5 episodes in our LifeProof Pillar series where we present the framework that we're developing to collaboratively cultivate deeply connected relationships, especially your relationship with yourself. Each episode in this series is a standalone episode, but to really get the whole picture of what we're sharing, we encourage you to listen to each one. So the LifeProof pillars are 1, choose love. 2, connect to the vision. 3, expand your awareness. 4, today's topic, nourish. And 5, our future topic, opt in. So our LifeProof relationship framework is designed to be applicable to your relationship with yourself, your partners, and your family. So let's start off with talking about self. And I'd like for both of us, Kylie, to take a moment here and drop into the feeling of nourishment. Let's just take a moment.
When I think of the feeling of nourishment, I feel like a warm vibrancy in my being, in my body. It's like the feeling of just eating a meal that was super healthy and I'm not over full, but I'm energized and like ready for whatever. That's like kind of the example of when I know I'm nourished.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. I feel nourished lately when I'm in deep connection. Like when I feel like I'm really in the same space with the person that I'm with, or when I'm out on a hike and I'm just deeply connected. There's just this feeling of, it's almost like a little buzz in my body that happens, you know, it's
vibrancy.
like, buzz, and it just, I have to smile. Like there's no, it's the only way that my facial muscles want to go.
If nourishment had a color, what would it be for you?
Today, it would be a beautiful fuchsia. Yeah. Like a bright, rich, pinkish red color. How about you?
A warm orange, like a soft, warm orange. Like passion fruit orange.
That sounds good. The passion fruit. Yum.
Alrighty. Well, so now that we've got a little bit of that under us, let's talk about nourishment for our relationship with ourselves. And so in all 3 of these domains, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our partners, and our family members, and also any relationship, but we're just focusing on those 3. We're going to need to get practiced at asking yourself the question, what kind of nourishment, what kind of support would you really appreciate right now? And ask that of yourself when you're talking, when we're talking about our relationship with ourselves here. So literally turn the question around, say it out loud, direct it at yourself. What kind of support would you really appreciate right now? And then listen.
Mm.
This
Yeah,
is,
that's the hard part, listening.
yeah, listen. This is what takes practice. You know, there's a little exercise that I encourage a lot of my clients to do, and it makes a big difference when they practice it over a period of time. Is ask yourself the question every day. Set an alarm on your phone, a calendar invite. What is it that you want right now? And it's like these little tiny micro reps of, well, in this exact moment right now, I'd love a nap. Okay. Well, okay, maybe I'm about to go pick up my daughter from school. So I can't just take a nap right now, but when can I give myself the luxury of a moment's rest? Like really thinking about it. All right, when I'm in line at her school to pick her up, I'm just going to turn off the music and just breathe for like 3 breaths and just like rest as purely as I can in that moment.
Yeah, I too encourage my clients, especially the ones that have back to back to back to back meetings all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And the luxury of a nap is not possible
Yeah.
unless they cancel a meeting. That's always a, there's an opportunity there. But yeah, just asking. I love that, Kylie, asking the
Mm-hmm.
question, what do I need right now? And then the next time the prompt comes, what do I need now? And it's also enabling you to really drop from your head into your body, do a quick body scan, and notice what's coming up. Because,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, we live in our heads so much. It could be
Oh,
something
yeah.
physical. It could be food. Food is medicine. And sometimes people go all day long without nourishing their bodies to give them the fuel and the energy and that they need to sustain what they're doing all day, and not just sustain, but actually to thrive in what they're doing all day. So I really love that practice. It could also be quieting or calming the mind. I mean, I have clients that will say things like, I cannot stop all the chatter in my head. I'm not listening when I'm in meetings because of the the loop that's happening in my head. So that becomes a place of nourishment to practice a little bit of quieting, a little bit of calming. And then of course there's always sleep. Oh my gosh.
Can't
You
get
know,
enough.
cannot get enough. And there are creative ways to nourish. Kylie told me an example of how you're thinking about sleep and showers these days. So I would love to hear that for our listeners.
Yeah, no, I'll start with the shower example. In my travels, I've been traveling in South America and Mexico and Central America for the last, by the end of this month, it'll be about 4 months. And just being with other cultures it just lifts the veil so well and helps me see things from a non-Western perspective. And it just shows me so fully how stale Western like individualism has really gets. And so I've sat with several cultures now too, in Brazil and one in Dominican Republic, with that have a reverent relationship to the spirit of the ocean. In Brazil, the goddess of the ocean I learned was named Yamancha, and in the Dominican Republic, her name is Atabe. And so I've just been kind of just processing and integrating, chewing on the idea of like the natural elements of this world having their own spirit, their own consciousness. And so I, when I take a shower, it's not just like a hop in and out like a chore. It's not just a routine. It's not just a thing I have to do because I, worked all day and I need to clean myself. It's like a moment of reverence where I'm like, well, dang, all water eventually goes back to the ocean. And I have a moment of like a communion, like a collaboration, like a communication, like a conversation with the spirit of water
Yeah.
when I'm taking a shower. And it's, I don't know really how to explain it quite yet because this is a pretty new emergent path for me in my own practice. But thinking of things in this way brings me into this energetic state of reverence. And it turns the
And
routine of
how does
taking a
that
shower into a ritual.
and how does that nurture you or nourish you?
It makes my whole soul smile. It's like, woo.
Awesome.
It's like a blanket. It's like, oh my gosh, that was such a good use of my time. I feel filled up. I feel that like buzz that you're talking about. Like you say, when you're in connection, you know, when I'm
Yeah.
in this example, taking a shower, I'm like all of a sudden making my own connection to the natural element of water. And so from that connection, I'm like drawing nourishment.
Wow. What if we indeed communed with all of the natural elements, with
Hmm.
water, and we communed with fire, and we
Hmm.
communed with air and Pachamama earth, you know? Ah, I love
Yeah.
that image.
This
That,
is this has definitely been an emerging form of self-nourishment for me. Like when I ask myself that question that we started with here is what kind of nourishment do I need? What support would I most appreciate? It's
mhm.
usually has something to do with something in nature,
Mm, yeah,
communing with nature.
yeah, lovely.
So with that, we just mentioned, do you have anything else to mention about relationship with self before we go to relationship with our partners?
No, I just want to encourage our listeners to really listen and try
Yeah.
new things, even if it's like, and I just want to get my hands in some dirt. You know, I mean, real dirt. Like, let's just dig out some beautiful rocks or, just, I mean, being out and snipping some of the beautiful, pine branches or whatever they are, the beautiful flowers where you are in the tropics, Kylie. My goodness.
Hmm.
And you can create a bouquet for yourself. It
Hmm.
doesn't, or you can even gift it forward to somebody, a random act of kindness if you're around people.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful way to connect with nature and to provide something that nourishes our bodies, our souls, that brings us into the present moment.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how do
Yeah.
we, how do we take this concept of nourishment of self into the nourishment of relationships?
Yeah. Okay. So through all of the pillars of this framework, especially in expanding our awareness, the opportunity to see, feel, and hear the needs of others really comes to us. We're becoming more sensitive. We're sensitizing ourselves to the needs of ourselves and the needs of others, and choosing to provide specific nourishment for your partner in a way that they want to receive it becomes the the kind of support that's sustainable over time. And
Okay. I want to
practicing,
stop you for a
okay,
second
go ahead.
because that's a really key point.
What
In
is?
the way that they want it, not in the way that you think they want it or in the way that you feel the best about giving because it's about you. It's really, truly uh, being in connection with your partner and giving in such a way that they will be able to receive it. So, yeah, please go ahead.
Mm.
That's just a really important point.
Yeah, it's what makes it sustainable. So practicing this when the seas are calm, when things are good, when things are easeful, is essential so that when the waves eventually inevitably start churning and crashing, there's a foundational understanding of what one another needs at your core that you can tap into in high consequence moments. And so let me just elaborate here and explain a situation that you probably have found yourself in. I'm sure you found yourself in a situation where you're trying to help somebody and they're getting frustrated at you because they don't want that kind of help, but you didn't know that. And you in turn are getting frustrated because all you're trying to do is help them. Uh,
Absolutely.
Sound familiar? I mean, I've been on both ends of that for sure, many times. But this is the moment when the cycle of giving and receiving is out of alignment. There's a block in the channel. It's like a belt in the car engine not being placed correctly. So after a few miles of driving, it just falls off track and this car engine stops. So practicing attuned support, or what we call consensual support, gives you a way to have that cycle of giving and receiving flowing smoothly, which is like having a nice new belt in your car engine that will hopefully be reliable for a long, long time.
Yeah,
So,
I love that.
yeah, Chrissy, could you elaborate on consensual support? Because this is really you were really the brainchild of this.
Mm. Well, how can I help is a more common phrase that people use rather than, how can I support you? How can I help kind of it has a power over structure to it. I'm coming in and I'm going to help you, like extend a hand to lift you up because you're
A,
down or whatever
a
it is. So
damsel in distress.
and so it has a lot of societal baggage. In fact, I think that many of us just have, pretty knee jerk reactions to not want help or accept it. And least of all, ask for it because it's a sign of weakness or vulnerability, which can have a really negative connotation for many people. And so, how can I support you is like a coming alongside. You're walking side by side, shoulder to shoulder down a path together versus walking towards someone that's in a higher position, So it's also a softer question.
Mm-hmm.
How can I support you? It has a different energy to it.
Yeah,
And then people will
softer.
look at you, yeah, and they might say, I don't know. What do you mean? Well, how would you like to be supported right now?
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
like 360 degrees, how would you like to be supported?
so when you ask this question, anticipate people to be a little stunned. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it happens all the time. I don't know how. And when that happens, here's my tip: just hover,
Mm-hmm.
hover in the silence, hover in the pause, is and say something like, "Well, take your time, think about it. I want to support you, but I want your input on how to do that." So think of this like a really fun negotiation. Okay. So you're sitting across from your partner. You say, hey, what kind of support would you like in this aspect of your life? Say it's work, or they're going to school, or say it's even some creative thing that they're doing. And you ask them first, okay, what support would you like? And then you think to yourself, what support would I like to give them? And you tell them, right? And think of it like two overlapping Venn diagrams where you find where it all meets in the middle, because they might say they want support in something you don't want to support, like you don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And then you may say, hey, I'd love to support you like this. And they're like, yeah, no, 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 thanks. So it's a negotiation, and it's iterative, and think of it like an experiment, right? Because once you'll know, I mean, you'll just know, you'll feel it when you get to that moment where you're like, okay, these couple of things I can do for this person, it's going to be a home run every time. And it's so good. And you get that, you lubricate the giving and receiving feedback loop, and it's just flowing so easily. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what consensual support is. And that's what we really want you to take away from this episode is And because that's something that you can start doing in any relationship in your life, is start having conversations like that. How can I support you? What would you most appreciate? Here are some of my own ideas. What do you think about them? And find the overlap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After the pause, because,
Mm-hmm.
you still want them to drop in and notice what kind of support they need.
Can you give me any examples? Hey there. I wanted to take a minute to tell you how you can get LifeProof coaching from us. It's super simple. Just go to our website, journeyOn-coaching.com, and sign up for a free introductory session with either Christy or myself, Kylie. This is our passion and it's our way of life. So if you're feeling called to reach out, don't hesitate. We look forward to speaking with you and getting to know you.
Sometimes my partner will say things like, "Hey, have you tried this or this or this?" And my immediate response to that is, "Ugh, don't box me in to that, or that, A, B, or C." It might be door F that I need, So I will, I will politely and kindly say, "Let me think about it for a minute." And I'll just, the question I'd really love from you right now is, what kind of support do you need? And,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then let me tell you, and then give me your ideas. Especially if it's something that you can't give me. And there are certain things, I mean, I've been with my partner for 30 years almost. We have one more month to go and it'll be 30 years. And, we're still discovering things about each other, especially as we grow and learn and live life together and separately. I mean, so our needs change and the way that we want support changes. And having that moment of respect for one another is really important to get to consensual support. There are certain things that I know that my partner really does not like to do, especially if it involves anything in a hospital. And yet there are times where there's something that I actually do need some support in from him, and then we come to an agreement about, I can totally support you in this way. And that just happened when he accompanied me out to Los Angeles to do some treatments. And he actually did the treatments with me, which was new ground. It was really amazing.
Mm.
And it was
And
just the most consensual and best kind of support I could have, like, I that I could have ever asked for.
yeah, yeah. And I'd love to just touch on what you just mentioned because all of a sudden he wasn't just coming with you. He was, there was like the added little glow to his presence there because you guys had this conversation
Hmm.
because he was there with the specific intention of nourishment and support for you.
That's right.
And that intention was spoken into.
Hmm.
And so I want to make an analogy here. When doing something with intention versus doing something without intention is like eating food that has no spices or eating food that is like decadently spiced with rosemary and toasted sesame oil and just like the way your experience of food just exponentially expands when you start learning how to use spices when you cook, when you start learning how to bring intention into what may seem normal. You bring a
Yeah. And
similar amount of like glow and pizzazz to what could be something so normal, like taking a shower.
yeah, and then it's really important to have conversations about it, because when you support someone in a way that they want to be supported, or you've come to the negotiated agreement for consensual support, and you have this opportunity to learn new things about one another
Mm-hmm.
and to notice what evolves. Like I just said, that it was the best support I could have ever asked for. And I didn't ask for that support. Originally, I was going to go to
Mm-hmm.
LA by myself, and I had my Airbnb set up which was an old, 1969 trailer. Airstream. And then he said, would you like me to go with you? And I said, are you
Mm,
offering to go with me? And he said, yeah. Yeah, I think there's nothing more that I'd like to do to support you than go with you. I said, okay, yeah, I'd love for you to come with me, and so he did. And then it really just evolved into this more and more and different kind of consensual support as we went, because we didn't know what was ahead of us either. It was new ground, which that was really cool to experience that together as well. And it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't asked me if he I wanted him to go
mm.
with me. So
That's
um,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
So you're saying that having the conversation, this
yeah.
negotiation can it's like a brainstorming session. And the ideas that you come up with afterwards may have been different than either of you had to begin with. And to
Yeah, so
really
it's
be
it's a
open to that.
taking notice of, right, and taking notice of what actually emerges out of it, because it's
Hmm.
new territory. And that,
Hmm.
my friends, keeps relationships a little bit exciting because there's some novelty.
Hmm. Yeah, it helps
Yes,
the relationship expand into
it does.
areas that you didn't know were there.
And the opportunity to grow in love. So it's all connected. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now that we've had this beautiful, beautiful discussion, let's close out with some takeaways. So we started our discussion talking about relationship with ourselves and what nourishment like that is, and how critical it is to become practiced at tuning in, listening, being creative, being experimental, and trying new things. What Asking yourself the question of what kind of support would I most appreciate from myself right now? That's the relationship with self moment. That's what nourishing yourself is really like, is being iterative and practicing that, asking yourself that question.
And I just want to say, practice it when things are going well,
Yeah.
when life is good
Yeah.
and harmonious.
Because
It's harder
doing
to do it.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, you're totally right. Doing the little micro reps when life is good is like you're like doing micro reps in the gym, building up strength for that big moment when life is hard and the stakes are high and consequences are high, and you really need to have that attunement to yourself to know what you want and what you need. All right, then we went into relationship with your partner. Chrissy, you want to do our takeaway for this?
Well, the relationship with your partner part is to listen to one another, listen from your heart, be open minded as well, and ask the question, what support do you need right now? And then wait, pause, see what they have to say. And in that moment, you can also think about, what kind of support am I willing to give right now that I can give? And then if the response from your partner is something different than what you think you're able to give, then talk about it. And
Yeah.
what starting with, I hear that you need X, the kind of support you would like is X. And the kind of support I can give right now is just a little bit different. It's kind of X plus, or maybe it's Y. You know, let's just see where we end up.
Hmm.
And then at the end of the conversation, and again, practice this when it's smooth sailing. At the end of the conversation is, oh, okay, so consensual support looks like this for you. And I consent to giving you this support.
Hmm.
And the whole goal here is nourishment. It's nourishment and it's coming from a place of love and true desire for your partner to be whole and for you to give of yourself in such a way that that wholeness is realized.
Yeah. Yeah. My last point here is to say, just make this an ongoing conversation. And when you're ever in doubt for how to respond to somebody, what kind of support would you most appreciate right now? It's never steered me wrong. It is usually illuminated things that I would have never have thought of. So
I know. We get
yeah,
so
it's so good.
surprised. Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, enjoy taking this little bit of an idea into your relationships. I mean, you can do it with anyone and see what happens. I'm curious how it'll be helpful. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any stories, thoughts, or questions about relationships that you'd like to share with us, feel free to send us an email. Our email is info@journeyOn-coaching.com. That's info@journeyOn-coaching.com. Follow us on Instagram and send us a DM. Our Instagram handle is @journeyOn-coaching. To explore LifeProof coaching with us, head to our website and sign up for a complimentary coaching session. Our website is journeyOn-coaching.com. If you love the show and want to hear more, subscribe and download the show on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, blessings as you journey on.